Maggie Hanna is a Calgary geologist and kind of an innovation futurist that she's been regular on our interviews for a while now. And earlier today, Maggie was talking on social media about Alberta getting off coal, but switching to natural gas and getting locked into natural gas instead of transitioning into hydrogen, which would be a zero emission way to generate electricity. So I wanted to talk to her about that. And so welcome to the interview, Maggie.
Thank you, Markham.
Now, why don't you give us just a brief overview of your argument?
Sure. So bottom line is that coal has twice the CO2 emissions that come out the coal plant stack, that twice that of a natural gas plant. And so if we actually expand our grid by twice or more, we're going to be right back where we started from. Now we have mothballed coal plants that still have life left in them. And if we go to natural gas plants, then we're going to be mothballing them too, with lots of life left in them. And the reason I say that is it's because the world is changing so fast and becoming so market sensitive to CO2 emissions that other jurisdictions who have a choice of where to buy their hydrogen from are going to look at us with our natural gas plants and choose someplace else. Basically, our carbon token, which will be attached to every kilogram of hydrogen that's traded internationally, will record those kinds of things. And so we're kind of between a rock and a hard place because, hydrogen is a chicken and an egg thing. I'm not going to put in a hydrogen fueling station because there's no cars around here or trucks around here to buy it from me. And I'm not going to buy a Toyota Mirai hydrogen car, even though it's an awesome car, because I have no place to fuel it. So one of the kickers here, it's not the chicken or the egg, it's the deli. And the deli is, I'm going to have a chicken salad sandwich and deviled eggs together, right? These have to come along together. And so what we need to do is make opportunities locally within Alberta for hydrogen. And this is a potential place for that.
So if I understand the argument correctly, Maggie, it's if we need to get out of this chicken and egg scenario, which often bedevils many new technologies, one of the ways to do it is to require power plants to use hydrogen, and that creates the demand that kind of kicks off everything else. Have I got that right?
That's it. And if you have a contract, that absolutely instantly de-risks to a large degree the investment that goes into building the hydrogen infrastructure, because you already have a guarantee for the next 50 years you're going to be able to sell hydrogen to that power plant, right? But here's the kicker, right? We have to get this done by 2030, right? And we don't have currently hydrogen infrastructure to go to those plants. So Mitsubishi, and I think GE's got one now too, but I'm familiar with the Mitsubishi one. It's a gas turbine that can take 100% natural gas or 100% hydrogen or anything in between on the fly. And this is the kind of device that we should be installing to replace our coal plants so they can run on natural gas for a little while until we get the hydrogen infrastructure built up. And they will run on natural gas and commit to a future hydrogen contract, which is going to help bring hydrogen into both local availability and also down the line for exports. Yeah.
I was doing an interview today with a fellow who heads up a company in BC that makes renewable hydrogen, green hydrogen using electrolysis and really cheap wind power. Now, I
Mhm.
know you're an advocate for blue hydrogen, which is taking the carbon out of natural gas, which then leaves you with hydrogen. And when you sequester the CO2 down in old oil and gas reservoirs, and it's quite inexpensive actually. And it seems to me that a lot of that infrastructure is already in place, and would make this transition to the mixed fuel, and then over time the transition to hydrogen, seem, like solve some of the problem anyway. Have I got that right?
Yeah, a pipeline doesn't care where you get your hydrogen from. It's the same stuff, right? It's the element hydrogen. It doesn't matter if it's green or if it's blue. It doesn't care. And I'm also a fan of green hydrogen. It's just that blue hydrogen is a third the price right now to produce. And it has about, the same similar kind of carbon footprint from a life cycle basis, right? So if you want to, just quick little info thing, if you want to know the lowest hydrogen life cycle footprint, it's wind. And the second lowest is blue hydrogen, and the third lowest is solar hydrogen. But all of those three kinds of ways of making hydrogen are all under the EU definition of low carbon hydrogen. So it doesn't really matter.
Maggie, I think so we've talked about some of the technical aspects of switching from coal to natural gas to hydrogen, or a mix of natural gas and hydrogen. But I think what really caught my eye in your discussion on social media was that we're not even talking about the hydrogen option. We're not putting it out there and having a discussion about it and talking about putting it in the policy mix. We're not talking about it being part of our climate policies. Let's not forget, folks, Alberta alone is 26% of national GHG emissions. I mean, Alberta's got a problem, and climate policy is coming for it at some point. This seems like such a sensible way to address that issue.
Absolutely, it is. And we do have a high carbon intensity because, they're the producers of hydrocarbon energy. But let me remind you that oil and gas companies only emit 20% of the GHG emissions, the carbon dioxide associated with hydrocarbon fuels. Only 20%, making that fuel for us. We, as the consumer, we kick out 80% of the CO2 by burning it in our houses to keep us warm, etc. Right? Now, on one hand, you can't take a hydrogen train from Calgary to Vancouver if there isn't one, right? So right now we're kind of stuck with that. But we're moving forward to decarbonize even that. And as we take this seriously in the province of Alberta, our the international view of us will change. You go to an international conference and you say you're from Alberta and it's a climate change conference, people boo you. Seriously, they boo you. Oh, boo, Alberta, right? We have a terrible international reputation. And and that's not just climate change conferences, that's energy conferences.
Can I jump in here, Maggie? I want to make a point here, because I can see a number of our people who view this are going to be going, oh yeah, Jason Kenney's right. It's those foreign funded activists that sullied our reputation and gave us a black eye in international circles. But if I understand your argument correctly, you're saying that Alberta has that reputation because it produces a lot of emissions.
That's correct. That's correct.
Maggie, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate it, and look forward to our next chat.
Okay. Thanks, Markham. Bye.